You know what really messes people up? It's not your anger. It's not the words you throw when you've had enough. It's not the heated arguments, the slammed doors, or the tears they expected you to shed. No, what shakes them to their core is something far quieter. It's the silence. The kind of silence that doesn't announce its arrival with rage or resentment, but simply settles in, calm, final, unapologetic. The silence that says, I'm done, and I don't owe you an explanation. It's not revenge, it's not cruelty, it's just clarity, the kind that comes after you've given someone chance after chance, only to realize your peace is worth more than their chaos. Right now, you might be wrestling with the urge to do something, to block them, text them, defend yourself, prove your worth, or show them what they lost. That's normal. That's your heart looking for some kind of resolution. But let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. The most powerful move you can make is no move at all. When you stop reacting, you take back your power. When you stop explaining, you take away their ability to twist your words. When you stop showing up, that's when they finally start to feel your absence. Not as a moment, but as a consequence. Let me walk you through what really happens when you choose silence. Not as punishment, but as protection. Not to hurt them, but to heal yourself. Because silence, real, intentional silence, becomes the loudest statement you'll ever make, and it echoes in places your words never could. First, when you pull back, their illusion begins to crumble. You see, they created a version of you in their mind. Someone who always forgives, someone who always replies, someone who stays no matter how many times they push you away. They counted on your consistency. They counted on your heart. But when you stop showing up, without warning, without explanation, that version of you dies. And with it, the control they thought they had over you. What they were attached to wasn't just you, it was how predictable your love was. They assumed you'd always circle back, that you'd eventually check in, break the silence, ask if they're okay. But now there's nothing, no text, no reaction, no sign of life. And that's what gets them. Not the fact that you left, but the fact that they never thought you would. You didn't just end the connection, you shattered the illusion that they could mistreat you and still have access to you. That no matter what, you'd always be there. And when that illusion breaks, so does their sense of control. They're left staring at a silence they don't know how to interpret, one they can't manipulate, charm, or guilt trip their way through. And while they pretend not to notice, trust me, they feel it. Point 2. They feel the shift long before they ever admit it, long before they'll let it show on the surface. You don't have to send a single word for them to sense that something's changed. They feel it in subtle moments that begin to add up. When their phone stays quiet, when they post something meant to get your attention and your name doesn't appear in the viewers list. They notice when the notifications stop, when the double taps vanish, when the check-ins they were so used to receiving suddenly go missing. And even though they act like everything's the same, like your absence means nothing, deep down, they feel it. They feel the silence crawling into the spaces where your presence used to be constant. But here's what's so powerful. They'll never say it. Not at first. They'll act louder. They'll post more often, maybe even try to look happier than ever, all in an attempt to keep control of the narrative. They'll try to convince themselves and the world that they don't miss you, but it's all smoke and mirrors, because behind the curated smiles and performative confidence is a restless energy. They're checking their phone more often, they're rereading old messages, they're scrolling through memories hoping to feel something that makes them feel in control again, because silence has a way of unraveling people from the inside out, especially when they were so sure you'd always be there. Point 3. Your stillness becomes their storm. Most people expect a reaction, even if it's anger. They thrive on it. Because to them, any response means they still matter. Even if you're yelling, even if you're hurt, you're still engaged, you're still emotionally invested. But when you go still, when you stop replying, stop reaching out, stop participating in the performance, that's when everything inside them starts to spiral. The silence leaves room for thoughts they never wanted to confront. Questions creep in that they had buried under pride. Did I go too far? Did I push them away for good? Are they really done? And suddenly, the quiet they once took for granted becomes a storm they can't escape from. You don't need to yell. You don't need to post cryptic quotes. You don't even need to block them. Just stop showing up. Just be still, because sometimes the loudest scream is found in the silence, and the most painful truth is delivered without a single word. When your energy goes missing, not in anger, but in peace, it forces them to sit with the one thing they never wanted to face, the consequence of losing someone who was once all in. Point 4, time. The one thing they thought they had slowly turns against them. In the beginning, they feel a sense of freedom, a false relief. They convince themselves they made the right call, that maybe things needed to fall apart. They assume you'll come back eventually, just like you always have. They think it's only a matter of time before you break the silence, before you reach out, before you miss them enough to fold. But time has a way of teaching lessons no words ever could, because as the days pass and the silence holds, it doesn't get easier. It gets heavier. Each day you don't return, each hour you stay gone, becomes a message they can't ignore. A message that says, this time is different. They begin to feel it in the quiet moments, in the mornings when your name doesn't appear, in the nights when their phone stays still, in the moments between distractions when they have no choice but to sit with the silence they once thought they could control. And that door they thought they left cracked open, it's closing now. Slowly, steadily, without drama, just reality. What they once assumed was temporary starts to feel permanent, and that's when it hits them. Time isn't healing this, it's burying it. And the silence they once dismissed is now the only thing they hear. Point 5. You become unreachable, not just unavailable. There's a huge difference. Being unavailable means they can still reach out, still check on you, still tell themselves they have time. But being unreachable, that's a whole different kind of loss. It means you've removed not just your presence, but your energy, your access, your essence. It means you're no longer someone they can simply summon back with a message or a memory. You've evolved, not just moved on, but risen above. You've done the inner work. You've healed, you've grown, and now the version of you they thought they could always return to no longer exists. And that realization that the person they lost is no longer standing still, waiting, that's what truly shakes them. Because now, even if they wanted to come back, even if they found the courage to reach out, they know deep down they don't even know who you've become. You've changed in the silence, and you didn't need to announce it. You didn't need to prove it. Your absence did all the talking, and the truth is, becoming unreachable, not in pettiness, but in peace, is the most powerful transformation of all, because there's nothing more terrifying to someone who took you for granted than realizing they no longer have access to the version of you they once knew, and worse, they never will again. Point 6. You flip the entire narrative, and the beauty of it is, you don't even have to say a word. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they walked away on their terms, and they expected you to be left picking up the pieces, drowning in the silence they assumed would break you. But instead of crumbling, you evolved. Without rage, without theatrics, without a dramatic farewell, you shifted the story in a way that they never saw coming. You didn't chase, you didn't defend, you didn't try to prove your worth, you simply let go. And that's when everything changed. Because now, the silence they thought would make you look weak is the very thing making them question everything. It doesn't hit them all at once. It creeps in during the quiet. In those late night hours when distractions run out and egos fall silent. In the middle of an ordinary day when they hear a song, see a photo, or feel something they can't quite explain. That's when it strikes. The person they were once so sure they could overlook has now become the person they can't stop thinking about. Not because of anything you said, but because of everything you didn't. You didn't beg, you didn't fight, you didn't make it a spectacle, you simply disappeared, with grace, with dignity, with power. And that's what truly flipped the script, because in a world full of noise, your silence became the loudest plot twist of all. Point 7. Your glow up becomes their gut punch. Let's be real, your silence doesn't just make them wonder, it makes them watch. And watch they will. They'll scroll through your updates, half curious, half haunted. They'll see your light shining brighter without them. They'll see the peace in your smile, the growth in your energy, the way you're thriving, not out of spite, but because you finally chose yourself. And that realization hits harder than any argument ever could, because they were so sure they damaged you beyond repair. They thought you'd stay stuck, silently suffering, watching them from the shadows. But instead, they see a version of you that they no longer recognize, not because you changed who you are, but because you finally became who you were always meant to be. And in that moment, what they feel isn't just regret, it's disbelief. You didn't just survive the storm they brought into your life, you rebuilt from it, you rose. And now, they're not just looking at someone who moved on, they're looking at someone who leveled up, quietly, powerfully, irreversibly. And there is no coming back from that kind of transformation, not for them anyway. Point 8. You become the lesson they were never ready to learn, the one life forces them to confront in your absence. And no matter how long they try to outrun it, they will eventually have to face it. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, they'll sit with the quiet truth they've been avoiding. They lost something real, and that realization won't come through an argument, a breakdown, or a dramatic moment of closure. It will arrive slowly, like a shadow they can't shake. It will be in the stillness where your presence used to live. The message won't be screamed. It will echo through the void you left behind. Your silence becomes the teacher, not because you wanted to hurt them, but because you finally chose to stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You didn't slam the door. You just stopped opening it, and while they try to distract themselves, replace you with noise and newness, pretend you never mattered, they'll feel it. Because no one forgets the person who walked away quietly, without begging, without theatrics, just pure, undeniable self-respect. That's the kind of departure that lingers, that teaches, that transforms. And every time they meet someone new, every time they try to fill the space you once held, they'll be reminded, not of what they want, but of what they lost. The standard you set will haunt every interaction. The way you carried yourself, even in silence, becomes the benchmark. And the truth is, you became the consequence. Not out of revenge, but out of growth. You didn't need to burn the bridge. You simply outgrew it. So if you're sitting there right now, wondering if your silence matters, let this be your answer. It does. It's working in ways you'll never need to witness. They feel it, even if they never say it. And when the weight of what they lost finally sinks in, you'll be so far ahead emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that you won't even think to look back. Because by then, you won't just be healed, you'll be elevated. And if this resonates with you, let it settle deep into your spirit. My silence speaks for me. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Not to punish, but to protect the peace you fought so hard to find. And that, right there, is what shakes them to their core.